Okay. Calling to order the Skokie Public Library Board meeting Wednesday, April 10th, 2024, 6:32 p.m. Susie, no comments from observers?
Nope.
All right, then we will move on to approving the regular closed meeting minutes of March 13th. First, we'll talk about the regular minutes. Any comments, edits? If not, can I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March 13th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Then motion to approve the minutes of the closed meeting of March 13th. Any suggestions, edits? If not, motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those pass unanimously. Next up is the review of the closed session minutes. And these are closed session minutes. Richard sent out a list from September 10th, 2014, December 13th, 2017, February 10th, 2021, March 10th, 2021, October 20th, 2022, November 9th, 2022, December 13th, 2023, and March 13th, 2024. If we want to talk about them, we need to go into closed session. If people are okay with the recommendations, then what I would say is we have recommendation to open 2 sets of meetings from October 20th, 2022, and December, I'm sorry, 3 sets. October 20th, December 3rd, 2023, and March 13th, 2024. So the recommendation is we open all those closed minutes. Any discussion? Disagreement? If not, can I have a motion to open those 3 sets of closed minute meetings?
Sorry, Jane. I might have went by request, but did the board approve the March 13th?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Right, so that includes opening the ones we just approved the closed version.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
All right, and then the recommendation on the rest, September 10, 2014, December 13, 2017, February 10, 2021, March 10, 2021, and November 9, 2022. The recommendation is to keep those 5 sets of minutes closed due to the confidential nature of the details. Any discussion? We need to go in closed session. If not, could I have a motion to approve keeping those minutes closed?
So moved. Second.
Second?
I second it.
You did, okay. Who? Oh, you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that takes care of that complicated matter. And finally, approving the destruction of audio recordings of closed session minutes, July 13th, August 10th. So these were ones, they were closed sessions that we recorded, and after however long, what is it, 18 months, we can, no request, we can destroy the recordings. It doesn't change the closed minutes. So, I have a motion to approve the destruction of the audio recordings.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you for that tedious business stuff. Richard, over at the director's report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Nice to see you all. It's not in my director's report, but I believe it will be really appropriate to acknowledge Laura's win in the PLA. Laura, you have a speech prepared?
That was a joke.
I teased her that I
I'm
would
really
be
excited.
prompting her for a big speech, but I mean, you can say something.
No, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to meet with the board and contribute in any way I can and to give back to the Public Library Association, which has offered so many opportunities to me. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Well deserved. Can't think of anyone who deserves it more, given all the work that you put into the betterment of PLA over the years. So congratulations. The third floor renovation is going very well. We are really on track to wrap things up by the end of the month. Laura, Susie, Vinny, our building services manager, and others have been putting together a plan to move back into our spaces, starting at the very end of the month and at the beginning of May. So we still have the lease at the temporary office through May, so we're not kind of pressed to get out of there or anything by the end of the month. So the timing worked out perfectly. So I anticipate finishing the project on time, of course, but also under budget, which is nice. And we just as we finished the bigger renovation under budget, it's nice to have a project come in with some surprises, but nothing that really, was kind of beyond what we budgeted. So the Petty Auditorium upgrade project is kind of in motion with the bid process. Susie posted those on our website. SMC, our construction manager, will be handling a pre-bid meeting next week, and hopefully the bids come back positively for us on April 23rd. And then we'll have a recommendation for the board for the May board meeting. I know that there was consideration of a possible special meeting to try to get that approved earlier, but after thinking about it more, we decided that we'll just simply push back the project by 1 month. So, strategic implementation retreat, we had a great full day of just thinking through our strategic plan, our current priorities. Director of Community Engagement, Nancy Phillips, who's here today, did a great job, really wonderful job of planning the day and the agenda and facilitating the meeting. We met at Emily Oaks Nature Center, which if you haven't been, it's a great place for a meeting, honestly. We felt like we'll do this periodically, like twice a year, but we also have more regular check-ins in the library with our co-leads for each priority. So I'm really happy with the implementation process and just the progress we're making. And later on, when we get to the reports, you'll see the quarterly update that Nancy and Susie worked on to put together. So I think we're doing great. I wanted to mention a couple of things about accessibility. ReciteMe, the web accessibility toolbar, is really exciting. It's been something that's been in the works for a while, and our communications and multimedia engagement manager, Jane Hanna, and our data and web administrator, Devin Parkinson, have really done a great job of integrating it into our website, and communications coordinator, Amber Hayes, was involved as well. I think it's a great tool for people to just, I've been playing around with it. There are a lot of settings that are really useful, so I hope that you get a chance to look at it on our website. So, and then we have a disabilities town hall on this Sunday, actually. So there's still some slots left, I believe, the last I heard. So if anyone's interested and able to attend, please.
No, we're full.
They're on the wait list now.
Oh, we're on the wait list, never mind. But if a board member wants to attend, I will try to make that happen.
How big is the expected attendance for you?
We're doing small group discussions for a lot of it, and it's in here.
Okay.
So it was actually limited participation to 36 people that we hope are people with lived experience of different abilities, and perhaps their caregivers. And the idea is, depending on whether there was a wait list or not, to potentially repeat. So
That's great.
I'm looking forward to the 1 o'clock, I believe. Yeah. 1 to 2:30. And then just the last thing that I want to mention about just accessibility and being inclusive of everyone. We have an early entry initiative that some of our staff members, I mentioned Holly Jin, Maria Anastasio, Rachel Bill, they've all been involved with opening up the library an hour early on Sundays, and letting people in to kind of use the library in not the full blown kind of state that it usually is on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. So I've heard really, I haven't been able to attend personally, but I've heard really great feedback about what that's been like for the people who have been able to participate, and hopefully word of mouth will spread and we'll continue to have that be something that's helpful to people, so.
How are we publicizing that?
Well, it's kind of like word of mouth. We have already some families that we already have who have attended our Rainbow Therapy Dog programs and just that kind of program, and so, but it's like one of those things from what I heard that you don't want it necessarily to get too popular, because then it just recreates the,
Yeah.
right, so.
It is in the newsletter, as well as on the website, and we do have at the kids' desk in particular some flyers ready to hand out so that in interactions with families, if it's evident like that would be something of interest, they can do a hand invitation.
So we're getting the word out. It's still something that we're monitoring too, so.
Is it geared just towards children or is it?
And teens, kids and
Kinder
teens.
families.
Do you have a cap of how many?
Oh, what?
Do you have a cap of how many?
A cap? I don't think, do we have a cap on that? No.
It's between generally like 15 to 20 families. We haven't historically hit that. It's a little harder to do registration for because some folks just sign up one person, some do every family member, but that's, we're usually seeing around like a dozen to 16.
But I mean, I'm not running the event, but I think it's one of those things where we won't turn anyone away, obviously, on a Sunday morning at 11 a.m. if they show up, so. But again, it's something that we're kind of monitoring to see how it evolves, so. And this is National Library Week, so happy National Library Week. I'll celebrate this week. I think every week is National Library Week, but it's just how we live our lives here at the library. So I think that, and the rest you can read here, but I'm happy to answer any questions or comment on anything. I also wanted to, I think, it's part of the consent agenda, I think, but we also have the quarterly recognition this month. If you recall, in January, we recognized people who were nominated by either their supervisors or colleagues for just exceptional work that they're doing. So you have that in your packet as well. I'll read their names just to celebrate them. But Jessica Goodman, Vincent Carabetsos, Marie Widner, Lori Pomian Fisher, Amanda Wiley, Aaron Davis, Martha Nelson, and Rivka Musat. They're all terrific people. Some of them have been here a long time, some of them have been kind of new hires, but I hope that you enjoyed reading those little summaries. So, yeah.
I just wanted to say that I really liked the Recite Me accessibility toolbar. I played around with it quite a bit. And I was just curious like how great the translations were. So I did the French translation and I was like, wow, this is really good. Because sometimes you do those things and translations aren't great, right? But this was really great. Audio features were nice. I just want to make sure, and I think I mentioned this to you, Richard, that like when I went to the website, it's like a small icon. I don't know if people instantly know what it is. So I think like to your point, it'll be good to monitor that and make sure to play that up if it's something that people aren't aware of. But I think it's a fantastic tool.
I don't know if you saw my response, but I asked our communications and multimedia engagement manager about that question, and she said that in their preparation they found that although like some people might not recognize it, the people who are looking for that, they know that icon because it's a tool that they've seen on other websites, so it's a familiar icon. So, but it is in a sense a soft launch. We're testing it to make sure that everything works. It's available right now, but we'll tweak it and adjust as if we're finding that people aren't seeing it. So.
Will we be able to get detailed feedback, like how many people choose French versus how many choose?
I think there's data built into the tool.
That's correct.
Yeah, we can check with that.
By language, we'd be able to tell how
I
many.
think so.
Yeah.
just like web analytics on the website. Yeah, it's exciting. So,
And then one final question I had, because I think you said you were going to look into it. When you go onto the website and you download the newsletter,
PDFs.
yeah, like, is there a way to get those to be translated as well if somebody's on the website? to
I
see
asked
those?
about that too, and I think the answer is yes, but it's a very time-intensive process to,
Okay.
Not only like to do that moving forward, but to go back and convert all of our PDFs and put all the tags in them to
Sure.
appropriately be used,
Okay.
translated. So I think that it would be, unfortunately, it's gonna take a long time for us to do
Yeah.
that.
And like not
But
wanting to
it-
create more work, I just think,
No.
you know, when we send out that newsletter for somebody whose first language is not English, it would be awesome if they could go to the website and see it
Right.
translated into.
There might be, like the current newsletter, as you know, like includes a lot of graphics, a lot of different kind of formatting. It looks beautiful, but that's not the kind of PDF from my understanding that really translates well
Okay.
English over. But Jane did say that she's been thinking about like a kind of alternate version of our newsletter that is more easy to scan right through that kind of tool. And so in the future, hopefully we'll have like the one that looks great in print, but also one that actually converts well. So
No, I just love the
all really good ideas.
Yeah. I just loved it, so I had to say,
Yeah,
great job,
yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thinking of the newsletter, has anyone investigated like the dynamic newsletter, like using applications like Junmag or
Like the ones that kind of like online.
the online
page
content,
turning.
they're dynamic?
Yeah, I don't think that we've done that. We kind of have a version of that a little bit with our annual report, where it's like I can't remember the tool, but I know you're talking about, I've seen those before, so I can ask Jane about it. Yeah. I think this year in general is a year that Jane will be, and her team will be assessing kind of the future of our newsletter, because it is a big print piece. It costs a lot of money. People love it, because that's how people find out what's happening in the library. They kind of put it in their bag and carry it around with them. But a lot of organizations, as you probably know, like park districts, libraries, theaters, they're all kind of looking at different ways to communicate that kind of information in the digital world. So, yeah. But good suggestion. I'll bring it to Jane's attention.
Other questions or comments on the director's report?
Richard, can you hear just a little bit more about the steering committee? Did you guys, Nancy?
Yes, the workforce development. Yeah, sure, of course. So that was actually, I can't take credit for that. That was something that Niles Township and also the D219 school district, high school district came up with in terms of really bringing the community together, community partners together to think about workforce development, preparing people for careers, getting into the workforce. It's just at the beginning stages. Nancy and I, and also our team services manager Laurel Dooley, attended the most recent steering committee and heard about like D219's efforts to build career pathways, inform kids about like the different students about the different options that they might have, creating events like field trips and speakers and to come and talk about like just to educate students at D219. So we're actually, I believe that we're in the process of having those pathway committees set up to start meeting soon. So it's really at the beginning. I don't have a whole lot else to share.
I look forward to hearing
Yeah,
that. It's very good.
I'll share it more. Yeah.
Just to come back, just as we were talking about the newsletter, you actually can go in and it translated the PDF of the newsletter.
Oh, good, 'cause when I tried it earlier this week, I couldn't get that to work. Oh, maybe I didn't do it right. I gotta go back and do it again.
We'll have to test the quality of it. Is it the formatting okay and everything?
And, it's a little off, but enough that you could, get an idea of it.
I'll go back and try again, because I was like, oh, it didn't work when I did it. Cool.
it's something. We're moving towards it.
Yeah.
All the toys.
Yeah.
Our staff, looking forward to third floor, happy with.
Oh, yes.
We're all nodding.
Yeah, my office right now.
Throw this backpack
We're
away.
not trying to complain, but we're looking forward.
We're very excited.
And the staff that we've taken up there, we've taken small groups up to just kind of get the lay of the land in advance, and lots of positive feedback, especially about the lighting. You can see, it's just such an improvement, and it feels so much brighter and bigger.
Good lighting.
And the bathrooms are getting a lot of oohs and ahs.
Makes a difference in the work.
Yeah,
Everyone uses them,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
That's the intent.
Mhm.
All right, anything else for the director's report? If not, we will move on. Let's look at disbursement report, pages 5 through 13. Any questions or comments about the disbursement report? If not, can I have a motion to approve the disbursement report?
So moved.
We have a second?
Oh, second.
Okay, and since it's money, we'll do individual votes. Mary,
Yes.
Amanda, Michelle,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
and you two, so it passes unanimously. Thank you. On to approval of the chiller replacement pay app, pages 14 to 16. Questions, comments? If not, a motion to approve the chiller replacement pay app number 6 at a cost of $94,863.32.
I did have a question. How many more times are we going to see this? Come on. Where are we at with this?
We're essentially done with the project, so this is just totally, we're very, at the very end, you noticed that the retainage was reduced to 5%. I mean, it's getting warmer now, so we really just needed a good stretch of warm days to be able to turn on the entire system.
Okay.
So maybe one more, just to clean this up, wrap this up, so.
Which would be the retainage in the last one.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? If not, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Again, it's money. Mary,
Yes.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Michelle?
Yes.
Shabnam?
Yes.
Ella?
Yes.
It passes unanimously. Next one up, the construction payout number 7 for the renovation at a total cost of $553,755.15. Pages 17 through 18, just 2 pages. You have the other materials and other parts of your board access stuff. It's a big ticket, but we know where it's going. Any questions or comments? If not, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Mary,
Yes.
Amanda, Michelle,
Yes.
Sheldon,
Yes.
Ella,
Yes.
and that passes unanimously as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving right along, approve the consent agenda, which is pages 19 through 50. Lots in there, including the reports on circulation events, et cetera, quarterly strategic update. Questions, comments?
I did have a question. Looking at, let's see what page it is, but looking at the online events, I noticed online engagement, so, I don't know what page this is.
Page 32?
32, yes. So, looking at Zoom attendance, and there's 69 attendees, I'm just wondering, I guess long-term, what are we envisioning for Zoom? Or do we continue to have numbers that are high? in the sense that, you know, what's our return on the amount of time and resources really that we're putting into Zoom programming.
I can take a shot at answering that, but I'll just try to.
Yeah, so that's something we're looking at, starting, so the majority of things that we're offering online at this point that are exclusively online are the Lit Lounge book discussion that we do in partnership with Morton Grove Library each month. And then a handful of oftentimes business and college readiness programs where we've heard from folks that it's easiest for them to attend from home. The rest are
like
hybrid.
Workshop kind of?
Yeah, kind of
Okay.
workshop, yes,
Mhm.
yes. So we'll have one coming up that actually is being co-sponsored by Oakdale College at the beginning of May that is like getting ready for college, hearing from teens to prepare. The rest are hybrid. And so a lot of those are discussion events where there's, you know, repeat attendees, some who come in person, some who are online. And so discussions in particular are one of the areas where we're looking at what's the best, you know, delivery mechanism for particular discussions, including looking at the in-person ones to make sure we're meeting needs as they are now. And in terms of workshops, it's largely coming down to what we continue to learn in conjunction with like our CE colleagues and others about what will best meet the needs of the intended audience. So that's where our strategy has been around like purely online things.
I'll just add to that, as we've discussed with the Petty Auditorium upgrade project, a big part of that is our AV upgrades, and built into that design is a lot easier capability of having streaming events or sharing what we're doing in the Petty, outside of the Petty, you know, so kind of like hybrid events or recording events, or so I think that might be part of the equation too moving forward, but that's assuming that the Petty project goes forward. So.
I guess that leads me to, thank you for that. I guess that leads me to another just thought of, you know, what is, I guess when we look at the amount of time and investment that we put into any sort of program, kind of what are our metrics for deciding if we're going to continue with that program or not, right? Are there cutoffs? Is there some sort of data tool that we use? I guess I'm just interested in that. It's not the answer like right now, but just something that, you know, as I'm thinking about, you know, ways that we are allotting our money and using those resources for, you know, community engagement, then what is that? You know, what are those numbers? What are we looking at per program? You know, because the amount of prep time that our staff uses, you know, in order to do that versus the amount of attendees that end up doing it and get something out of it, right? I mean, that's all time and resources that we're using. So just a wondering that I'm having.
I think it's good to wonder if that's a good question, and I mean, just from my perspective, Amy is in on this work a lot more obviously, but I used to do programming, you know, when earlier in my career, and I would say a lot of it for me when I was in programming, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you know you feel differently, is just the number of attendees is one metric, but it's not the only one, because you think about like equity, you think about diversity of programs and topics. If we wanted to only just get the highest numbers in attendance, we would just do tons of like movies on Fridays, you know, like and just fill the Petty, you know. So it's like the variety, the equity, the audience, getting just a breadth of programming. Also, I always found it. We always try to encourage the experimentation of new ideas and testing types of programs or topics, you know. And so some programs you just have, and it's like 2 people, 3 people show up, and I always kind of thought for those people, if it was beneficial and worth it, then I'm happy at the end of the night, you know. But then in the long run, you want to look at the patterns to make sure that that's not like all of our programs, you know?
Right.
So I don't know, do you want to add anything? to that, or
Yeah, so we
dispute any of
definitely,
that?
yes, I mean, everything Richard said, yes. We, in library school, one of my instructors said, like, you need 6 months to give a program a chance, just in terms of how people find out about it. So, we don't have a lot of hard and fast rules because there's so much context, but looking at the trends of it over time, oftentimes because so much of our programming is generated from input from the community, our first attempts at changing things up will be finding a different time, a different delivery format, if we're still hearing like the content is valuable. But we very much take a data-informed approach of looking at, what are not just the number of attendees, the impact, what are we spending, what sort of staff time, what other services could potentially have a larger impact in areas we know are important with those same resources.
We're always learning from our community too, like when they're giving us feedback or input on what they're not seeing or what they're seeing or what they want to see more of. So.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that feedback, especially because, I know that's why I looked at the 69 for Zoom attendance. I know that that's not the full story, right? So I did want to just delve a little bit deeper into that. And I think that, at the end of the day, we do want to make it quantifiable. So when we talk about equity, what are the numbers that are translating into equity, right? Because that's a very broad concept. And I think when we think about that, when we're looking at our strategic plan, like, let's take that broad concept and then make it into something. And that would be, when we look at programming, that would absolutely be one of those metrics. And I am, just so that you know where I'm coming from, I am all for the risk taking, right? I think that the more that we, adventure into some topics that are not typical, right? The more we're able to really diversify, right, what we have. And I think that will reach a wider audience in general. So, and just like you said, you do need to give it time, you need to tweak it a little bit, and I think that's all part of that process. So, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Can I say one thing about that specific metric too? That's just the attendees for online events where we are the Zoom host. Like, that is pulled from Zoom. For a lot of business programs in particular, we partner with other libraries, and so that's recorded in our event attendance, but it's not pulled from our Zoom. So that's actually an undercount.
Okay.
That's just how many people in events used our Zoom.
And then what about the joint venture with like all the other libraries?
Yeah, so the Illinois Libraries Present Initiative, which is each month a big name author.
Right.
So that is not through our Zoom either. So all of those attendees, and that's 9 to 10 programs per calendar year, are reflected in our program attendance numbers, but not in that because it's not our Zoom.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
See, it's good to
And that's why the data
like the
informed.
data doesn't always tell the full scope of it, so I did want to delve a little bit into that thing.
But it also reveals maybe we can enhance or adjust our online engagement reports so that it more accurately reflects the breadth of what we're doing that's not simply our hosting.
Right. Because to me, like, that doesn't tell the full story.
Right.
And in actuality, talking about it more with you, well, there's a whole lot more in it, than just that one number, so.
Laura, can you talk to Devin about maybe adjusting the report things? Sure. Yep.
The popular adult fiction titles, do we know why those particular titles were picked? Because I know there's a book club table, then there's like the latest fiction table, and so is it because they were put on a particular table, or is it because they won awards, or do we know why these particular titles?
I mean, those are big names, but I would.
So we're talking about which title circulated the most, is that the question?
The third bullet point on page 24, I think there's one or two,
I noticed that too, that was
Yeah.
interesting detail.
We're trying to mix up those stats every month. See if
It
anyone's
was a
reading
fun
it.
detail,
I would say a variety of factors could go into that. I mean, it could be that we had it on display. These are also big titles that are big across the board. So you might find those same 3 titles at a neighboring library were the most popular.
Okay.
That's just, we thought it was interesting to note what is moving most here. So,
We highlight that at the end of our year too, look at most
Mhm.
popular items checked out and everything, but it could also just be as simple as like it was mentioned somewhere in the media at some
Yeah.
point by someone famous and then everyone
Yep.
comes.
And because then there, celebrities will have their book clubs, right?
Right,
MS
right.
books and, you know, all this. So,
Right.
you know, when people want recommendations for titles, you know, sometimes they're looking for those, you know,
Yes.
celebrity book club titles, or sometimes they're looking for, okay, what won an award, or,
Mhm.
you know, whatever. So I was just interested in like, why these?
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with
No,
that,
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
because now I wanna take them out and read them.
Yeah.
Please, Hello Beautiful, great book.
Okay.
and we do have a variety of tools, so if someone comes in and says, you know, I only want to read Oprah's book club, that's fine.
Yeah.
We have ways to get to that, or I only want to read an award winner, we can help you get to that. And we've done our displays to help you find good book club books and things like that. So we have a variety of tools to get you there, but also some things are just, they rise to the top and they're popular.
Yeah,
Okay.
the displays have been working out really well on the west side especially, so.
Yes.
I just had a couple call-outs. When I look at the year-to-date for youth library, I'm completely blown away by the circulation numbers. Like, it's, so kudos to that. I think it's amazing. I am super excited that we're considering to do framed for winter of 2025. So I don't know if you want to talk a little, like, that's like the live art exhibit, right? Where you can like walk into like an art exhibit, right?
So I don't, well, I don't think it's a done deal yet, but.
But the fact that we're even thinking about it is very
Yeah.
cool.
It's part of our, just like, one of our current priorities is to explore the play, you know, concept
Yes.
of play. And we're also, the art committee is actively discussing what we want to do as a library in terms of our permanent collection, highlighting design programs around our collection, maybe acquiring art. So it just seemed like a good year to pursue an art-related interactive exhibit. And this is one that I had not known about, but our staff, Maria and Laurel, who are the co-leads on the play, and Priority, just were doing some research and found that I thought this might be a good fit for us. And so, yeah.
It's magical.
So
I mean, it
saw
looks
some
so
photos.
cool.
Yeah, I saw some photos of it installed in other locations
Yes.
in the past, and I thought it was really cool too, so.
So that was neat. And then I guess I just want to say overall, I was really impressed by the report, and I just like seeing all the progress that we're really making against the strategic plan. Like when everything is outlined like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, here's this intergenerational, you know, for example, program, you know, with teens and or with youth and adult, like older. I think that's so cool. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everything you guys are doing for the staff, and I just see all these things lining up, and I just really like how it's curated and put together. And I mean, I sent you like a list of 10 things. I was like, that's great. This is cool. I love this. Like I was really excited to just see everything and to act. Just how it's really tying back to the strategic objective is really the big picture that I wanted
think
to
my
mention.
response to you on those bullet points is like, me too, I love it.
I was like, this is awesome. I
But,
was just like, that is so cool.
I appreciate that comment. I really just want to give credit to Nancy for compiling everything and organizing it. Susie really helped with that too. The formatting I thought was even beautiful, and the photos, and so kudos to Nancy and Susie for really putting that together. Nancy is here. She's going to be here on the quarterly update board meetings anyway, you know, for when we're updating on strategy. But do you want to comment or say anything?
I just really appreciate that because it is lengthy. There's a lot of good pieces in every single bullet point, but it's lengthy, and we were trying to figure out a way to organize it in a way that helps the reader, or so that you can follow along what the
No,
structure
totally.
is.
I loved it. I
that-
love like
that
this was the
appreciates.
goal. This is what we have been doing. This is what we're looking forward to. And I mean, I read every word. I thought it was so cool. I was like, this is so great. You know,
And
just
even
seeing everything.
even things like that necessarily aren't in the part of the official priority, but are related to our
Yeah.
focus area. You know, I thought that was good too, to fit those in. So, yeah, it turned out really well.
It's good content.
I loved it. I was like, wow, I mean, just everything. I could go, I mean, I won't, but I mean, it was just, it was really, really great. But those were some of the things. And of course, the quarterly employee awards, I mean, I just like reading that too. So it's just, it's all, every section had something. I was like, that's great. We should be really proud of the work that we're doing. It's great.
I'm sure staff are appreciative of that kind of comment.
Other questions, comments? If not, motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's move on to page 51, the projected year-end balance. Richard, anything you want to point out? Good.
Just a reminder, this is something that we provide every April. The fiscal year isn't technically complete yet, and really we'll only have the official numbers after the audit is complete, but Allison, our finance manager, is here today to prepare this, and it just basically shows kind of where we end up, where we project ending up for the year to date, how much was budgeted, what we are expecting in terms of an excess of revenues over expenditures. So we're, as expected, in a very healthy position. But obviously this is just kind of a tentative look, it's not the final look. So thanks, Allison, for putting it together. If you have any questions, Allison, I can speak more to any of the details.
Some of this we'll see again in your projected budget, because some of this is going to get
Right.
rolled over, so,
Right.
which is under the agenda.
Yeah, if you look at the corporate replacement taxes, the third line down, you see that we received a lot more revenue for PPRT than we expected. I mentioned this in the past already, but that excess will essentially be utilized as part of our, to fund our budget next year, so. Yep. So no action is needed, it's just for informational purposes.
All right, other questions? Otherwise, pages 52 and 53, quarterly investment update, same thing, no action needed, but Richard, anything you want to highlight?
Not really, I think it's just pretty straightforward. Those are accounts, so we formatted it a little bit, hopefully it's easier to read.
I just have a question. I think in the last meeting, or maybe it was when we were talking about consolidating some of the is this representative of that, or is
No.
we haven't done this? So what is the plan for consolidating?
We haven't changed any of our banks.
Okay.
But we're still, Allison and I have been meeting with bank representatives
Okay.
from local banks and just assessing, analyzing, kind of hearing from them, and then Allison will do an analysis and we'll figure out which direction we want to move in, but none of that is reflected.
Okay.
This
Just
is,
want to double check. I was
yeah,
like,
no,
making sure.
good question.
Okay.
That is more, that pertains more to our operating fund,
I see.
as opposed to our reserve investment accounts, which really are kind of, I mean, obviously, the CDs are a one-year term CDs, so those aren't going to change, but until the renewal, and then there's always a decision. Allison and I have a conversation about what makes sense, where are we getting the best rates, and where we invest the money. So.
Everybody okay? All right, then. Well, we got a few more items that we do need to approve. So page 54 to 58, the Biblioteca service contract. Questions, comments? Richard, do you want to talk about that?
I don't. Laura will talk about it. It's a very exciting.
Year 5 of the
I can if you want.
Yeah, so as Jean said, it's year 5 of a 5-year contract that we entered into when we purchased the new equipment as part of the renovation. The big one here is the automated materials handling machine. When that breaks down, we really need them to come right away and take care of it because everything grinds to a halt given the volume of circulation we have here. So it's very important that we continue to have a service contract with them and that they are responsive, which they are. This is year 5, so we will be looking to explore our options for the upcoming years, but for this year, I'm asking for approval for $36,704.67 to keep our contract going.
Questions, comments?
I did have a question, just thinking ahead. You know, are they one of the, because I don't know, is this one of like the big companies? Like,
Yes,
Yeah.
very big.
Be big.
Yeah, they're kind of the one. There are some other options, particularly for our materials handling sorter, that has a lifespan that's much longer than 5 years, it's usually closer to 10. So we would not be looking to swap that out necessarily at this point.
Okay.
But some of the other pieces of equipment, like the self-checks and things, have a shorter lifespan. So we'll explore what's possible.
Okay.
But that will probably, you'll see me next year asking for something related to the handler probably.
Sounds good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And Laura and many others, Neil was there, were recently a Public Library Association conference, and that was, that's, you know, there's a big exhibit hall there, and I know that they had conversations and kind of looked at upcoming products, services that are being added, so.
And I'll be at ALA this summer too, so we'll keep exploring and looking at things.
I have a really bizarre out there question.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking about technology in other spaces, like when you think about going into stores, for example, and there's no checkout period, you just walk out and it checks out your, like, are library services like looking into technology like that, or is that too far out? Like, I don't know, like, you know, you walk in, library knows it's you, you get your stuff in your bag and you walk out, like you don't have to check it out.
Amazon Go.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
They're closing those
Oh,
stores.
are
so
they? They are.
I think they're implementing something like that at Sam's Club, or I think at
Oh,
Sam's
they
Club,
do
they're
have
looking
the
into doing something.
checkout,
Costco,
right,
yeah.
checkout.
It was something, but yeah, I just feel like things are kind of, you know, there's different, I'm just curious, you know, in terms of tech, have you heard any rumblings of things?
Some rumblings, but it's not anything that's really,
It's not gonna happen in the next 5 years or anything.
yeah, don't hold your
Okay.
breath, but I will come with that next year.
All right.
I assume we don't want to get into facial recognition.
No.
Libraries in particular don't necessarily want to go that route for privacy reasons.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good not to be on the cutting edge.
Yes.
I was just curious, you know, because you see different types of businesses adapting things at different paces. So my question was more or less geared towards like, how does the public service sector and how does the library view those types of technologies and, just, you know.
But if you, for all the trustees, you know, you included, if you get a chance to go to the ALA conferences or the PLA conferences in the future and you attend those, just walk around the exhibit halls, that gives a really good sense of like the creativity, the product development, like all kinds of innovation that's happening in the library vendor market.
Okay.
So it's something, I know Sheldon is doing it, Jean.
Be fascinating.
But,
And I will say-
ALA is massive. This summer it's in San Diego. But last summer it was in Chicago, and every few years it's in Chicago. So it's, we'll let you all know again, but.
And most library vendors do a good job of getting feedback and asking what improvements do you want to see, and we certainly speak up when there are things that we're interested in. We had a staff member, maybe two, attend a dinner with our biblioteca reps, and we also had a separate, you know, we saw them in the exhibit hall and met with them, but so they're hearing from us and we're listening to them, and it's just kind of a slow cycle to roll
Okay, that makes sense.
advances like that out.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking back when, you know, when I used to work in the circulation desk when I was younger. I mean, I remember having to stamp those cards, put them in the pocket, and no, I would have never thought in, you know, whatever, you know, this many years that I could just walk up and slide my thing and then walk out the library. Like, it's very cool. So we just, you know, sorry, I don't want to go too far off topic, but we were just talking about technology and services. I was just wondering, you know, after 5 years, obviously, Michelle, so we're just constantly evaluating the technology. It was kind of the big picture question.
And
Okay.
Mark, our IT manager, Mark Katze, he's going to be preparing a technology plan. We do it every 2 years, and
Okay.
Laura will be working with him, and we'll have that. Normally we have it in June, or May or June, but it might be end of the summer just because we're so busy moving back into the vertical. So
All right, cool.
that might be an interesting read too.
Yeah, love it.
Laura, I have a quick question. Just curious. Is this the kind of contract that can be looked at, like renegotiated or just looked at again before it's approved?
This year or?
Or like going forward?
Definitely going forward, because these were the terms that were outlined when we originally purchased the equipment, so it was all part of the same contract. But moving forward, yes, we're free to ask for whatever we want, and they're free to, come back at us with what they're able to provide.
And who does the negotiation?
It varies depending on what it is that we're talking about, but in this case, it will most likely be Annabelle Mortensen, our Director of Access Services, and I'll be involved as well. She's very good with.
We have some good
they're really
questions.
good at it.
Yeah.
I would just add, we have found that a lot of vendors, even though we're a smaller library than some of the really massive systems in the country, in the Chicago area in Illinois, we're one of the largest libraries, and I think there's a sense that people pay attention to what we're using, and so a lot of vendors try to keep us or get us, so there's incentive for them.
The Secretary of State said it must be.
The Secretary of State said it himself, yes. Didn't want to drop names, but. Yeah.
No other questions or comments? Can I have a motion to approve the annual support and maintenance contract with Bibliotheca at a total cost of $36,704.67? Moved and seconded. Mary?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Shabnam?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Next one we have to approve is not money, but the amendments to the public comment policy during board meetings on page 59. Richard, you want to address that to 59 through 61?
Yeah, and we can both talk about it if you want to add anything, but Jean and I had a conversation not too long ago about taking a fresh look at this policy. It's been about 3 years, and we've also got some guidance from our attorney, of course, and there were just a handful of points that we wanted to clean up a little bit, and I outlined that in my memo. So if this is a policy that is, just for context, if that would be implemented and used if we had public commenters at a meeting. So, Jean, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Not exactly elephant in the room. There was an incident in Evanston with their city council meeting where a group stepped up, multiple group members, to make anti-Semitic comments, claiming free speech and First Amendment rights, and person after person was going through it. And so Evanston cut off the comments after 30 minutes. So that's why Richard and I met and reviewed, want to clarify 3-minute limits per person, 30-minute maximum, and I would still have the authority to cut somebody off if they're abusive, threatening, or harassing, or personal attacks. So make sure, just trying to get out ahead of, in case they didn't know the group was showing up at Evanston. We don't know when somebody's going to show up here, so we just want to make sure we have our ducks in the row, so to speak. So,
Do we have to award the full 3 minutes?
do you have to award what?
Award the full 3 minutes to every comment?
Unless we can cite the language that it's abusive, threatening, harassing, or personal attacks. So they do have First Amendment rights.
I mean, so essentially that would give 10 people.
3 minutes apiece, yes. Half an hour sitting listening to abusive, not abusive. Those are the only reasons we can cut them off. So in any event, Richard and I reviewed the policy with our lawyer to make sure. She edited some of the free speech stuff, so.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. I think it matters in this climate to have guidelines that are very clear.
That's exactly
Yeah.
the purpose of just to have a firm policy that's clear.
Yeah.
And actually implementable, you know, so,
Yeah.
I had a question about the third clause, where it said comments submitted in writing or by voicemail will be shared with the board in advance of the meeting. So I understand it to take, like, no matter what, if a comment is shared in those ways, it would be shared in advance, but then it says, and may be read or played aloud. So I guess in which cases would something that is a comment provided by somebody, when would it not be shared or played?
It's really the board's discretion, you know, there's no requirement to play.
Okay, that was my question, like, I understand we would get it, but I didn't know if there was, if the rest of the policy follows, for example, if the language is abusive or threatening, for example, in the email, like, we don't read that at the meeting.
Yes, we could choose not to.
Okay, but if it's just a general, comment about something that doesn't have that type of language, then it would be at the.
In the interest of open meetings, we'd want
Yes,
to read
okay,
whatever we receive in
Okay.
general.
okay.
And then really quickly, would that then be communicated to the person who left the message that that decision was made?
Susie, do we get people's permission to read things when they send it to us?
No, we don't. When they submit it through public policy channels, whether they can say the voicemail or email is just automatically shared with the board.
It's assumed that that person understands that they're submitting a public comment.
Right.
Okay.
It's not an email, private email to me or something, you know, it's stated as a public comment.
Okay.
And we're a public meeting, so they
Right,
could
right,
look
okay.
and see, and these meetings are posted, so they can see if
Okay.
we've read it or what the response was.
Right.
So I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around the 10 people.
Mhm.
And not that, I mean, you don't exactly have people begging down the doors for comments right now, which is fine. It is what it is, but I guess my question is, if there were more than 10, right, is there some other avenue that we would suggest then that they could use in order to, I guess, share their comments? Like, would we then just redirect them back to?
They could always
Should
just
tell
come
us
and
the
write,
the email option,
Yeah. or come back the next month. One of the things our lawyer removed was originally, as chair, I could have stopped comments because they were repetitious. And the thought was that was too difficult to judge and gets into denying people's speech.
Right.
So, because I think that's part of what happened to Evanston. They said, you're just repeating yourself. We've heard this before, but. So we would have to listen to the same 10 people say the same thing for 3 minutes, as long as they're not threatening whatever the criteria. So it is a bit of being open and listening.
How is the order of people picked? Like, to Michelle's example, like, let's say if there's 15 people.
We have people sign in.
Susie has a sign-in sheet
Okay.
every meeting, she brings it.
Okay, so
So
it
I
goes
assume we
in
do first
order
come, first
of
served.
that, okay.
So, I'm on our website for Board of Trustees, and it just gives the policy for public comment, and then it asks to email us, but I guess it doesn't actually state anywhere that when you email us, that is open to public comment.
Well,
I mean,
So-
it's one thing to email the board, it's
Right.
another thing to want to submit a comment at a meeting.
right,
So I guess my question would be, is there a way that we would distinguish between the two? Because, this is just shared with us, and I know we've had that before, when we've had emails shared with us.
I think the word public comment is the key. If someone says, I want to submit a public comment for the board meeting, then we know what that means, given the language we provide on our policy. But if they're just emailing the board like, hey, great job or something, then that might not be a public comment, it's just a
Actually, like that.
communication. Right, exactly. Unfortunately, we can't restrict public comments of that kind, but that would just be, we would, any email that we get to that email, we forward to all of
Right.
them. There's no filter process, you know, so. But if they say it's a public comment, then Susie will inform us before the board meeting starts too, so.
Yeah, they've historically made that distinction when they, in the phrasing and the wording when they contact us.
They make it clear of the intention of it.
I think people who wanna make a public comment know that language.
Thank you, I just,
Yeah.
as long as I wanted to just honor the process for those who do want to share it. There is a, you know, multiple ways for them to be able to access that,
Absolutely.
regardless of what their comments are and whether we agree with them personally or
Of
not.
course,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah, well,
Right, it is about balancing free speech, open meetings, etc.
just like functionality of the board meetings, you know,
So, general information also goes to tellus@skokielibrary.info, correct? Is there the opportunity to create an additional email address that says public comment at skokielibrary.info?
We can, I mean, we have the email, the library board, and we have, I mean, but we can, if the board would like.
Well, I went to look at the library's website as well after it was brought up. So when you click on public comment, it gives you the same email address. It's just a general, tell us how things are going at Skokie. So if someone doesn't have, I'm just gonna think of one scenario. If someone is an English language learner, they may perhaps want to submit a public comment or a private comment, but they're sending the same thing to an email. So we're expecting the patron to have enough of a grasp of the English language to understand that my public comment, I need to say in the subject line, public comment. So just something to think about. I don't know if it's feasible, but it may be helpful if there was something that clearly distinguished, this is a public comment. It doesn't have to be public comment at Skokie, but something that differentiates from the general email box.
well, I think the email box is monitored, so that could be something that, I guess, whoever is monitoring, I know that, Richard, you play a big part of that, is kind of, you know, when it seems of that nature, that would be a good time to, you know, ask the patron via email if that's something that they wanted to share.
I think either way is fine with us. It's more of just a administrative thing, you know. So if we wanted to, if we could easily have some language on the board page, if the board would like, of a little bit more clarity on if you're submitting a public comment, use this link or whatever, and you can have a separate public comment at Skokie Library or whatever. And that stuff is very easy to set up for our IT department, and we can have it route to Susie as the other TELUS emails do too. So we're happy to set that up. So I think that's a good point. I mean, not everyone knows, right? So it's up to the board.
Can you work on draft?
Then I would suggest that, I don't know what that email address will be, so in the policy it gives an actual email address, email to TELUS, so maybe we can just make it more vague and with instructions on the website itself that with the actual email address. Is that okay? So,
Yeah.
so email the library by 4:30 might be the best wording for that one line in the policy itself. And then we'll actually have the clear instructions on our board page, if that sounds okay.
Yeah, the website will be up to date.
Yeah.
We don't have to change the policy every day.
Yeah. So that would all work, right? Like, that's fine, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good. I don't want to miss anything. Okay.
Everybody okay? Then can I have a motion to approve the now revised policy regarding public comment at board meetings as amended? All in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to the approval of the FY 2025 salary wage increases for non-bargaining unit employees. Richard, keeping non-bargaining unit.
Right. Yeah, as we started to discuss last month, the bargaining unit wage increases are covered by the collective bargaining agreement, so this would just address the non-bargaining unit employees, which action hasn't been taken on that, and this is the time that typically happens to coincide with the approval of the budget as well, so. I can answer any questions the board may have, but.
It's a little bit complicated, what we're gonna talk about. Approving, well, there's the base increase and merit increase, which we can approve those numbers separately, and then there's the bonus installment, which is a third question. So here's what's the base, what's the merit for both standard and exceptional, and then how do we want to do the bonus payments for those employees who reach the top of the pay scale. So it's really 4 numbers that we're looking at.
Is this something that we need to go into closed session for?
Because this is a broader discussion of compensation and not for a specific employee and not related to collective bargaining, it would be advised to stay in the session.
So Richard talked about
Okay.
let's do just keep this in open. So given what we were talking about last time, what I was proposing, the options we reviewed, was that the base increase be 2%, which is less than the collective bargaining standard raise, with merit increase of 1.5 and another 1% on top of that for exceptional. So it would be a total of 3.5 and 4.5%. Richard's proposal, there were other ways to get there. You could change the base rate but still reach the same total, or not name a base rate at all and still reach the same total. I was proposing going with option 2, which is 2%, 1.5, and 1%.
My question would be why structure it? Why do you feel you want to structure it in that way?
I don't want to tie the base rate to the collective bargaining agreement, which is how it had been originally proposed, as 2.5 and 2.5. I would rather separate them, make them separate, particularly going forward.
So you're looking at option 2, 2%, 1.5, okay.
Right, it ends up exactly the same dollars being spent.
Right, the cost of the library will be the same.
Legal distinction without a financial difference. A distinction worth keeping, I don't want to pair them up every time, because that set precedent going forward. That was my argument.
I would say a counterpoint to that might be just because the base increase is the same doesn't necessarily mean that they're tied to one another though, right? Like,
Does not?
yeah, so I guess, you know.
We can say that.
Yes, I agree, yes, so I just want to make that point clear, like just because if, for example, if we proceeded with option 1, yes, the base is the same, but it's not because of the other contract. We could just decide that that should be the.
Coincidentally, then.
Yes.
Well, and keep in mind to be honest, for the administrative purposes, like the final numbers are what we'll use in terms of like budget and sort of impact and all that, but the salary scale was adjusted 2.6% last month by board approval, and so that is actually like kind of the most recent trend that was recommended by HR Source, so.
Yes.
But
That's why I was
I'm not
saying, yeah.
arguing for either way, honestly, because like I said, administratively, that actually ends up being the same, so.
I'll just come up, I mean, I know we're trying to have a discussion. If I were to pick a preference, I would honestly probably pick option one, just for the reason that you cited. It's in line more with like, you know, you said it was like the recommendation with like.
Well, that's just what the board
Yes.
moved.
Yes, in the last meeting, yes. And I guess I'm just thinking, I don't know. I guess in my head, I'm not necessarily tying it to what the other what the contract was. To me, they're separate things, but I do hear you that, you know, the perception might not be that way, but I'm just stating, I don't think it is. But I don't know how other people feel.
Other thoughts? We have option one, option two. Richard presented three options. Anybody else want to weigh in or make a motion?
I'm leaning towards option one.
Sorry,
I'm leaning towards option one.
option one also, okay. Ella,
I'm leaning towards option two.
Michelle?
I'm not leaning towards
Amanda, any preference?
I don't have a strong preference. I would lean towards one if, based on the conversation we had prior, there's just this aspect of perception that I'm not fully aware of, but if perception wasn't an issue between non-union and union, then the 2.5% thing is just a number, and it doesn't imply parity, like one for one, so option one makes sense, but I understand why these other options were presented to kind of make it seem separate from. Sorry, I can't be more helpful, I don't have a strong.
Well, you did not say you preferred option three, so you kind
Yes.
of said no to option three.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes. What about you?
I say no to option three.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the other thing to
Nothing bad.
consider is that, you know, this is just for this year, and then next year, the board is not tied to any kind of pattern. So if there's not a strong leaning one way or the other, you know, option two might be just as good and fine for this year, and then next year there can be some other consideration. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's really up to the board.
I'm fine with whatever the majority chooses, as long as it's not option three.
Okay. All right,
I
everyone.
think we're all in consensus that option three is
option
not.
three, let's try that. We're getting closer.
One, two,
And historically, if you look at the memo, I mean, it's gone both ways, right? Like, some years the base increase has been higher versus the merit,
Yep.
you know, and other years it's been the opposite. So, I mean, there's precedent either way, I guess is what I.
yes, and as I say, both options end up with the same total dollars being spent. So it's not affecting how much money employees are actually gonna get.
The only thing I would argue though is for option one, like if you project out a year or two from now, if the base increase is higher, that carries over to the salary next year no matter what. Merit increase, that could you do get what I'm saying, like that's added, you know? So like,
Financial impact.
Yeah.
yes, so there, it is slightly, calendar year, the percentage is the same, but over the long term, it's different.
So would you like to make a motion?
I think so.
Please.
I make a motion to go with the original option that was proposed, which is option one.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, then we have to go individually. Mary,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes.
Ella?
Yes.
That passes. We're going with option one?
Thank you,
You all?
appreciate it.
Thank you for doing the added work, Richard, to.
Oh, no, no, not at all, that's it.
Well, we're not done.
No, we're not done.
But wait, there's more.
There's more, there's more.
Call now. And now on to the issue of bonus payment. Is there anything you want to add about it? So this is, the employees who have maxed out within their salary range, so they can't get a raise, but we can still offer them a bonus for the year, which would not change their total salary, but would still reward them for their exceptional service.
Yeah, I think you said it all, and, we would do this in installments throughout the year, which Allison can manage that.
Installments how, like quarterly or?
That we'll figure out, what works best and kind of is easiest to implement, but,
Allison, are there any issues from your point of view with bonus payments versus?
No, I mean, there's, it would be whomever is at the cap, so.
and Allison's looked into how that would actually kind of functionally work in our payroll system, so it's not something that's impossible, so.
No. It's doable.
Yep.
No other questions or comments? Can I have a motion to approve bonus payments for those non-bargaining eligible employees who are above the maximum salary of their pay grade? After we're above it, as she said.
So moved.
Second.
And it's money again, so Mary?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Shabnam?
Yes.
Ella?
Yes.
That passes as well.
Thank you. And just to be clear, that both motions were really part of that, the one agenda item.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just kind of tiers of,
Right.
yeah, subcategories, yeah.
All right, then back to the agenda, page 62. Approval of FY 24-25 budget. Richard?
I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have. I presented, I didn't want to repeat my lengthier memo from February, but all of that really stands. And then just some of the adjustments that I noted in the March memo as well. But this month, with the latest version that you have in front of you, we had a couple of adjustments, nothing too major, but one was to increase the utilization of the reserves by 100,000, so went from 900,000 to 1 million. That's really honestly nothing more than feeling a little bit more comfortable having an appropriation that's a little higher in the cap. Not that we expect to use that, but if depending on how the petty bids come back, if it's a little bit more than we expect, or there's some unanticipated increase in the cost of a repair that we're planning for a capital improvement this year, it's just nice to have a little bit more appropriated for that reserve utilization. And then the reception and meetings line, we're planning maybe a big event for just to celebrate the third floor renovation, inviting friends, family, and kind of some other staff appreciation type efforts. So we decided to just increase that by 5,000 as well, just to be a little bit more comfortable there. So no huge impact from either on the total budget. But. And I just want to make it clear that page 1 of your attachment is the proposed summary budget. So when the board is approving this fiscal year 25 budget, it's not only approving not only the operating budget, but also the utilization of the reserves, expenditures for the capital improvements. So all the payment of the bond, the debt bond, obviously. So all of that is considered the fiscal year 25 budget. So just want to clarify that. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
I had a question on the maintenance of buildings and grounds.
Yeah, sure.
It went up quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, costs for labor and repair are rising and the building is aging. Because of the renovations, we're in a really good place, but also it takes a lot to keep up the building. So we've been going over a little bit every year for the past couple of years. So this year, and each year we attempt our, we give it our best shot at guesstimating what that number should be. But this year, after analyzing it again for next year, Laura, Vinny, and I talked and felt that we needed to increase that budget just to accommodate everything that we're doing. We have cleaning, we have repairs, we have painting, we have all kinds of activities that we're putting into that. Lawn maintenance, ground building, the grounds, there's a lot there. So hopefully we have some plumbing repairs on being scheduled right now, and or adjustments I should say, not necessarily repairs, and hopefully those big ticket plumbing items that we had this past year and last year won't be recurring next fiscal year. So hopefully we'll come under, honestly, this budget, but I just felt like we wanted to err on the conservative side and really have more there than, because things come up.
And just to emphasize, this is based on a 0% increase,
That's
which
right.
we decided on previously, so.
The tax levy.
That's right, we did not raise taxes.
That was that 450,000 utilized, the budget surplus from the corporate replacement
Right,
taxes.
that we referenced earlier in the meeting, 450, will cover that, so we don't need to do the tax increase.
And then like the salary line and everything, that is inclusive, for example, of like the various, like raises and
The
all of
actions
it.
at the board.
Okay, I'm making sure.
Everything, the bargaining unit increases, the non-bargaining unit increases that the board just approved, that was all factored in so that it could absorb any action that the board took today, so.
I know Mira's not here, but per her request, Richard sent out a list to you all today, budgets of other libraries.
Yeah, and it shows like the per capita spending comparison, so we're by far not the highest in terms of per capita spending, but we're not also like at the bottom. We're among the libraries that we showed around our area, we're kind of in the middle there. So.
Questions or comments? If not, can I have a motion to approve fiscal year 2024-25 budget as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, voice vote?
Oh,
Right.
Oh, I think
Sorry?
should do the roll call vote for this.
Oh, this says consensus.
Oh, it should-
Sorry, that was a typo.
that's okay.
Okay, then we will do voices. And we'll move in reverse. Ella?
yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
All right. That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which brings us to the final agenda item.
Like I said, I go, that feels good.
That's real good, it's a process that starts in October of the year.
We did the closed meeting last month on some of that. All that stuff. So, all right, to reschedule the annual meeting, Richard, do you want to give some context for that?
Yeah, so the board has, for the new board members, the board has I'm using air quotes here, annual meeting, and it's really just a meeting right after the normal May meeting. And on odd number years, the board would normally hold its officer elections, but since this is an even number year, we were planning to have some board-related policies, like the board bylaws, there's an ethics policy, etc. So maybe 2 or 3 policies, and I've been starting to work on those. Gene shared that he won't be able to make the May meeting, so we thought it might be best to just push that back to the June meeting, so that that annual meeting takes place when hopefully everyone's here. And we're also planning to bring in our attorney to do kind of a refresher on some things that are helpful to public body boards. So we asked her if she could make the June meeting, and she said that would be fine. So it's as simple as that. We'll still have the regular board meeting in May. Shabnam knows that she will preside over that, so in Gene's absence.
Questions, comments? If not, a motion to approve changing the annual meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. That brings us to comments from trustees. I won't be here next month. Thanks, Shabnam, to run the meeting. Also, thank you for attending Time for Shop tonight, at the end of Ramadan. Her family's partying and she's here. And get her out before 8 o'clock. Other comments, thoughts, observations?
I just want to say really quick, I loved all of the energy around the eclipse here. I wasn't able to make it, but I was really happy to see that there was an event done. It seemed like it was really a lot of good energy around that.
It was a wonderful event. We had, how many people did you?
We had 1,300 people.
1,300? Oh my gosh, I was way off.
Wow.
In the April report.
How many glasses?
Wow.
How many joined on Zoom?
We had, day of, for the event, we had 1,000 pairs of glasses. So we only ended up having maybe 24 folks who came a little bit after we had run out. And in fact, there were families who said, oh, we have extras. So it was great. Much better than 2017 when we had 1,000 people and 300 pairs. But everyone shared them too.
But before the event,
We passed out
so
5,000
a total of
last week.
6,000 glasses.
Wow, killing it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like those events are easier said than done, like just planning everything, so I just wanted to make sure to say I loved seeing it.
Yeah, I just loved it. I kept telling everyone that the eclipse itself is amazing, but the people and the sense of the community, that's what really made the thing special. And strangers talking to each other, like who would have thunk? Like that's a good thing, you know? And, but it was really great. And kudos to Amy and Laurel, who's our teen services manager, and everyone involved, all of our building services, safety staff, managing the really the madness of the parking lot.
I can't remember how many phone calls came in, like in the first hour of the library.
What was that
In the
number?
first hour, it was, I believe, already past 80.
I think we got to 500 by the time the eclipse started in that morning. And everybody wanted glasses. We actually stationed staff at each door, starting at 9 o'clock, just to say, we don't have any glasses, but if you come back at 1. We don't have any glasses, but if you come back at 1.
Amazing.
Yeah, close to 400 between 9 and 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of calls.
Yeah, so everyone in the library was just all hands on deck. And it was just great. I mean, the mayor was out there having a great time, and like just the staff were out there. Our photographer, we had a new photographer on, and she was out there taking photos, so I will definitely share those. I'm sure they'll be shared on social media and Instagram.
There were some good ones,
Yeah.
Well, the library event was featured in the Chicago Tribune Online yesterday as well, including Miss Mandy and her puppet Schmoranges. So, which they did spell
You haven't
correctly.
checked it out. Look at the article, is there a photo?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Look at that.
Fantastic, congratulations, yeah.
There's also a fun, for those of you who get the Skokie News email every week.
Yes.
I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but the library was mentioned 3 times. So that was nice added support, but at the very bottom, they were noting they had a thing on the eclipse, and then they had a thing noting National Library Week, and their communications department had created a little video And at the very end, it's Laurel handing out glasses from the table. I'm like, whoa, they just pulled us
It
together.
was fresh off, the was it like an Instagram reel, right? Like that, yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah. And Rick, one of our program assistants, was out there too and setting everything up and with our other program assistants. Yeah, kudos to everyone involved. Yeah, it's just great.
All right, everybody good? Any other comments, observations? If not, motion to close the meeting. Helen,
Just don't wanna leave. No.
all in favor?